Hey guys, Fallout 76's beta, it's caused a lot of very animated responses in the last 24 hours or so, because effectively they just announced what that's going to look like. We've been waiting since Bethesda at E3 to clarify what exactly the beta is going to look like. They've said that if we pre-order the game, we get access to the beta. That's really all we know. And just now we're finding out when it's going to be, who's going to get to participate, what it's going to look like, and more in general, the purpose behind it. So that's what I want to delve into in this video. Most importantly, they've said that the beta is going to take place in October. So if you've pre-ordered the game, you get access to it in October. Whatever, who cares? It's in October. We'll come back to that. What's caused some more confusion is that leading up to the full beta in October, they're going to slowly build and add people into it. So they're going to start out with randomly selected players who pre-ordered the game, and then they're going to get access to the game slowly leading up to the full beta, and then they're going to rev up, and everyone who pre-orders is going to get to play it at some point in October. Now, however they want to structure that, slowly adding players in, who cares? But what is interesting is when they announced back at BE3 that Fallout 76 was going to have a beta, it was assumed that the purpose of said beta would be to stress test the game, stress test the servers, stress test the code, push it to its limits, find any bugs, any hardware issues, networking issues, whatever the issue may be, to find those and fix it before the game was eventually launched in November. That's typically what a beta, public beta, would mean for most people. The issue is that that's not apparently what this beta is for. So often in the modern game industry, betas tend to just mean like public demos that are called betas for whatever reason, and this seems to be no different because it is releasing less than, or probably roughly a month, almost exactly a month out from release. And that's not enough time to fix any major issues. If you've got major networking issues going on with the game, you have to have a fair amount of time to fix it, because you have to take into consideration server restraints, upgrading servers, adding more servers into the overall network of servers that are working for the game. You have to consider if there is some major issue with the code that breaks once you throw 1 million players at it. That's not something you're going to encounter in those small tests leading up to the game. Because if you think about it, like what do they mean by small beta tests leading up to the full beta? Do they mean like they're going to pull 500 people out of that pool randomly and let them play it with each other and see just roughly how balancing works? Or are they going to take 1 million players in and try to balance it? Like, what is the overall purpose? And more than anything, this demo, or beta rather, see, it's such a demo. I even say demo. What seems to me the main purpose of this beta is, first of all, marketing. Quite clearly, this thing is designed to push the game in a month that will no doubt be dominated by Red Dead Redemption 2, to try to bring it up, get people talking about it, playing it, and then eventually lead into the full release. The second reason that they're doing it, apparently, is for balancing. So the major issue with Bethesda games since their inception and birth has always been bugs. They have issue with code, they have issues with polishing the code leading up to the release of the title. That's been Bethesda's main issue going back to the beginning. So naturally, when people heard there was a beta, they assumed, okay, this is Bethesda's first ever attempt at an open world multiplayer game that's working with peer-to-peer. Like, it's crazy complicated what they're trying to do. So we assumed it was going to stress test the bugs and the code to find the bugs and try to clean them out. But a month out, that's not enough time. And so it doesn't seem like that's their primary concern. Either they have an insane amount of confidence in what they've built up already and they're not worried about bugs, or they're just saying screw it and they'll deal with that when they get there. I don't really know. That's way above me. That's something for their management. Maybe they do have reason to believe the code and everything is going to be strong enough to put up with the player load that they're looking at. But if you look at history, most studios who try their first ever multiplayer game and it gets this big this quickly, they don't have a great experience. It tends to go pretty badly, and I don't think this is going to be an exception, because apparently all this demo, or all this beta, is meant to do is balance. So figuring out how many players should be on a server at a time, figuring out what damage outputs should look like, figuring out if you should be able to see the other players on the mini map, figuring out how they should balance all of these things, loot and questing and NPC interaction. I know it's not actually NPC interactions, it's like ambient world character interaction, whatever you want to call it. But all of these things can be balanced and can be adjusted very easily, because it's just changing like a 0.01 spawn rate to a 0.04 spawn rate, and then all of a sudden the balance shifts and everything gets adjusted. And that makes sense. That's when a beta comes in handy. But that's not what I'm primarily concerned about. The first and foremost thing I'm worried about with a Bethesda Game Studios game is always going to be bugs. And the fact that they're doing the beta, roughly a month out from the release doesn't bode well, especially because there have been multiplayer games that have had public access betas that have come out in the weeks leading up to the game's full release, and they don't have time to fix any of the major issues. All they can do is roughly adjust it, and usually you see the effects of the beta come into play like 2-3 months after the game's release, which isn't what anyone's hoping for. We were hoping we would get to play this game in July or late June, and then it would slowly get adjusted and tweaked and fixed leading up to the game. But as always, there's so many moving parts to this. You've got the marketing guys, which I'm sure are breathing down their necks, telling them, no, you can't do the beta too early, otherwise the hype will peak and then it just trails down and we will have a difficult time. And if there's any issues with the beta, considering there will be issues with the beta, it could potentially lead to issues where we have trouble pitching the game to other people, and it just creates a big, terrible mess. It just spirals out of control very, very quickly. This is what happens when a company tries to do something very, very different from what they normally do, and when the public is already skeptical. Like, that's the issue. The public would have been skeptical of this game even if it was Fallout 5 and it was another mainstream single-player, non-multiplayer, non-online, like single-player game from Bethesda. They would have already been skeptical and would have already had their questions about it. But they go the complete polar opposite direction, trying something totally new, totally different from what they've ever tried before. And so the public is going to be way, way more skeptical, as they should be. And Bethesda, instead of trying to reinforce that skepticism with confidence, like, hey, look, we're going to give you access to the game months early, we're going to let you play it, let you see what it is, and then we're going to adjust it and tweak it and fix it. Instead of that, they're going the complete opposite direction, just like in the design, and said, no, we're going to give you access to it a month beforehand and sort of try to balance it at the last minute, see how that works, and if there's any hardware or networking issues, we'll run into those on the day of launch. So oh well. I'm not super impressed by this. I'm actually fairly disappointed by this, because the beta was sold, at least heavily implied, that it was going to be for sake of getting rid of bugs, making sure that the game was sturdy enough to play on launch day. And now it seems like it's just a glorified marketing gimmick, which, we all could have predicted, but we tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. And it just goes to show, like, there's already a lot of doubt surrounding this game, and my biggest thing that I've said before, there doesn't seem to be a hook. I haven't gotten a hook yet for why I should play Fallout 76. Like every other game they've ever done, there's been a big world and a story that they tell you about, and something like, it's the hook. Oh, I'm playing this game because I'm trying to find my son, or I'm playing this game because I'm trying to find my father. I'm playing this game because X, Y, and Z. In Fallout 76, there doesn't seem to be any hook. It's just, you have a big world and you play online with friends. Okay, why are we doing that? Why am I leaving the vault? Why? Well, because you're rebuilding it. So are there's like quests, and is there a storyline where you're rebuilding the wasteland, and then you set up and you like found the Brotherhood? Like what is the thing that gives me purpose in playing it? Well, it's the pre-order, and we'll let you see in the beta. there is no hook. There's nothing that makes me say, this is why I need to play this game. It's just there. This is my issue with games like Destiny, which I know is going to get flack, but like games like Destiny, they're big online games. Lots of people really enjoy them. I just can't get into it because there is no hook. There's nothing that tells me, oh, I have to sit down and play through this for hours on end because of blah, blah, blah. It's just there, and I think Bethesda could do much better. It's quite clear this was just sort of a thrown together project. It's something that was relatively easy to make. They already had all the tools and assets from Fallout 4, and they just needed to redo the network code, which they had already absorbed. Bethesda Game Studios Austin, and they're all networking gurus over there, so they figured, hey, we'll just give them this project to work on, and we'll keep chugging away at Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. And so it seems like it was just sort of something they threw together to try to give us something to play in the meantime. Otherwise, we'd be waiting like 6 years until their next game. So I appreciate that there's something out there, but I don't think it's going to surprise anyone when this game kind of flounders and disappoints a lot of people, because my prediction right now, the game is going to be a disaster at launch, and I think it's not really even going to be playable until they introduce private servers. And once they do that, I think you're going to see all these articles on gaming websites and YouTubers saying, oh, it's the renaissance of Fallout 76. Now is when you should be playing it because you can play on your own servers, do your own thing. That's when I think we're really going to see the game explode. And so whether or not I'll play it at launch, I don't know. I'm not keen on pre-ordering a game just for early access to something that's potentially just broken, but we'll see. Let me know your thoughts on Fallout 76 down in the comment section below. I've made videos saying we should give it a chance. There's potential for it to work. That is, of course, with the caveat that there has to be a hook. There has to be some reason that it works, some reason that the game exists, and that we're performing the things that we're performing. And as of right now, there is no hook. It might just be that they're keeping that close to their chest. It might be that they're saving it for a big surprise. I don't know. But as of right now, there is nothing like that. So let me know your thoughts. I'm really interested in hearing them. Let me know either in the comment section below or over on the Discord server. We hang out there. We have a lot of fun. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, check out my Patreon and or my merch store, all of which is linked down in the comment section or description box below. But thank you for watching. I love you all. Bye. See ya. Bleh.